Good morning and welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. And our guest now, we're welcoming Linda Davis. She's the Executive Director of the Domestic Violence Center of the SCV. Welcome, Linda.
Thank you, Barbara.
How are you?
Good.
You're up to your eyeballs in projects, I'm sure.
We got a lot of stuff going on. Yeah.
Okay, what's the first one that's coming up?
Okay. Well, the first one's coming up, which we're very excited about, is this. Well, you know that Hands on Santa Clarita is doing the 9/11
Right.
Recognition Day, again,
Right.
Remembrance Day, really. And so we've been one of the 5 nonprofits to have been, our proposal was accepted for them to come out and do work for us. So we're looking forward to Saturday having a group of Santa Clarita volunteers come out to the shelter, and actually they're going to be painting a fence in the back. They're going to be redoing our sandbox in the backyard, and they're going to be cutting back all of our fruit trees and getting us ready for the winter and doing a lot of weeding out there as well. So we're very excited about that, and then we'll be sending a group of, staff and volunteers to the evening event that's going to be happening at Town Center Drive. I don't know, they're going to be doing one of the things that the executive director, Seema Shah, has done. They used to do that program here in the Valley that was called, it was the one day where they just went out and did work in different people's, different nonprofits. They would help out, okay? Mm-hmm. But then she wanted to bring it back to remember 9/11. So they had done a lot of bigger projects in the past, like go in and paint, look at the heroes for 9/11. So go in and paint the sheriff's station, or go do something for the fire station, or go do something. And so they had done that for a number of years. And now this year they did it where they actually asked communities again, community nonprofits, to say, is there a way that the community can come out, because you do so much for the community, can we come and help you on this day?
Wonderful.
And so it's really kind of a cool thing. But she does a great kickoff, and there's going to be Remo's going to be there for drumming, and there'll be speakers there, and it'll be a fun event. And I think it starts at 6 or 6:30 and runs to about 8:30.
That's
Hands on Santa Clarita. It's 9/11 Remembrance Day is what it is. And so the evening one is on 9/11, and then the projects are happening on Saturdays. That way they could get more volunteer teens to help out too, and get kids in the community to help as well.
I mean, already people are saying, Linda, though, gee, I'd like to be doing that, and how do I get the volunteer? Do you know how?
Yeah, they go on to Hands on Santa Clarita's webpage, okay? And on there's going to be a place to sign up, all right?
Cool.
And then there's also a local number. I don't have it with me today, but there is a local number that they can call that they'll get on the webpage, so that they can call.
Great.
All right, and they can ask for, Seema Shah is the executive director, and then there's also, I think her assistant there is Mary, and she can call and talk to either one of those people. Anyone who wants to come can talk to either one of those people. They are looking for volunteers. I've seen it on Facebook. I've seen it it is on their webpage. Yeah,
so
they're
this
still
will be
looking.
Saturday for your organization. They'll be out there for you.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So that's one of the first things I'm pretty excited about that we're doing, because I love when the community helps the community.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so they're coming out to paint the fences.
Yeah, paint the fences.
Trim the trees.
Weeding, trim the trees,
Fix the
that kind of thing.
Yep. Dig out the sand and put in new sand and make a cover for the sandbox. And we had a shed that online we had this thing on GoFundMe. We're trying to put a new shed in the backyard. So a bunch of us at the office had said if we raised $1,000 for the shed, people would dye their hair purple for Domestic Violence Month, okay? So we ended up raising just $540, but we also had there was a fundraiser by this little church called Bloom Lutheran Church, who's here in town, and they raised another $500 just having a pie contest, and it was adorable thing that they did for us. It was Bloom Lutheran. They use the church at actually St. Stephen's Episcopal Church. They use a part of that. But
down the street here.
Yeah. So it was really kind of cool. So we don't have to dye our hair purple because we didn't raise it on GoFundMe, thank God. I think I was going to do a streak, but I had one staff member who was going all the way.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I said, well, I could always say I'd shave my head or something. And then I wouldn't. No, we were just going to say, what would make people maybe give us more money?
Well, if you wanted to shave your head, I have lots of wigs.
I know. Barbara, I'd come see you about that. You're right. But anyway, so that is another project that I know Hands on Santa Clarita is going to do for us in November, where they're going to bring out some volunteers, but more skilled labor, and build this shed for us, because we do have it out there, but we need to get a cement
Cement
platform
base,
for
yeah.
it and then build the
Yeah.
shed. So, but we're doing a lot of work at the shelter because we've been really busy out there. We're full pretty much 100% of the time.
Wow.
And also, we have so many wonderful volunteers in the community who give us, we did the pajama project, we got so many pajamas. Every day, there's people that bring stuff into us, and sometimes we have to turn people away because we don't have enough storage. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to build an additional shed out in the backyard.
Well, the garage is the storage place.
Yeah, but it's not anymore,
Oh,
actually.
you cleared
it's the
it all
office. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, the garage is actually the office now. We added air conditioning in there, and
Terrific.
what happened is the back room became the resident manager's place so that we could then house somebody overnight in exchange for rent. They live there and, are able to do the hotline at night.
Well, let's explain to our seniors what the Domestic Violence Center does, because they are hearing you talk about a shed and the sandbox and everything
Yeah.
else, but, maybe they're thinking this
Wondering
is a
what's going
nursery
on.
school.
Yeah, no.
But it isn't.
No.
This is totally different, and it's a service to our community for a problem that I think every community has.
Every community has it. Every neighborhood has it. We probably see about 1,500 women a year, actually. They don't necessarily go through our shelter, but they go to our outreach center. And so the Domestic Violence Center has been in town for 33 years now. And the shelter is a 30-day emergency shelter. And what that is that women and their children who are basically running for their lives in a way, have to disappear, have to go somewhere where no one's going to know where they are, especially their batterer, will come to us via our hotline. We have a 24-hour hotline. And so they'll call the hotline, and we will take them in and keep them there for 30 days. There'll be therapy that happens. There'll be helping them get back on their feet financially in some way, whether it be cash aid, just until they make some decisions about, because women who are coming out of a domestic violence relationship, their money, they usually go to lose about 50 to 100% of their income when they leave. And then we also provide therapy for the children and programs for the children as well. But there's different groups that these women go through. And then at the end of the 30 days, or during the course of the 30 days, they're making some decisions about what they want to do. Do they want to continue in a domestic violence housing, which is called transitional housing, or do they want to go to like a plan B, which might be an apartment somewhere, or to a relative where maybe the abuser is not aware of where they are. But we also make sure that they're safe as far as a restraining order is concerned, so we have legal advocates come in and work with them at the shelter and get them restraining orders. We take them to court to make sure that they have all that in place. And then 97% of the women that come to us do go into transitional housing. That's a very good rate for us, because what happens in transitional housing is they will actually get they'll go to work or they'll go back to school. They'll give like 30% of whatever their income or whatever it is back to the house to save as a savings account, okay? So when they leave, they can get their own apartment. There will be childcare, and kids can go to school from there as well. And then they can stay there anywhere from 6 months up through 2 years, so that maybe they'll get like an associate's degree in something or a training program in something, and then get back on their feet. But throughout the whole time they're there, they're also being given domestic violence classes, awareness, so that when they go out, the real hope is that they don't go back into another domestic violence relationship. Because as we've talked before, it's a learned behavior. It's something that's happened to them in their childhoods probably, or they've witnessed it or experienced it. And so they need to make some different choices. I would never say, I wouldn't say better, because they didn't know they were making bad choices before. They didn't know. They were just doing what they saw their mothers do, their fathers do, and they're in the same kind of relationship. So the process is to educate and to really get them to do some self-reflection, which is really courageous work and really hard work to do. So at the end of it, we hope they go out and maybe they don't even get in a relationship for a while, but they just get themselves settled, get themselves a job, and get their kids settled, and then, life goes on, so.
Yeah, that's an incredible program. It really is.
Thank you.
But
Yeah.
just to make sure that those who might be listening and not having been aware, and they're in a situation right now, that when they go to domestic violence center, they're not housed there. They're housed somewhere, so they don't have to be afraid
Right.
of being accosted again.
Right.
So So it's important that they understand that no, I'm just going to end up right back where I was if people know where I am.
Right.
So they are not housed. So just our listeners who are out there need to be aware that this is safety for you and your children as well.
Well, and Santa Clarita women actually will come to our, like if somebody comes in and they need shelter or on the phone need shelter, or Henry Mayo Hospital calls us or the sheriffs call us, we will take a Santa Clarita woman into our shelter for up to, say, 3 days. But they will be transferred out to another area that is safe for them.
Yes.
Okay? Because the house is safe and secure for people who don't live in Santa Clarita.
That's
You know what I'm
correct.
saying?
That's
Because
very important.
they have to be able to, once they're going out into the community after, they're with us for 72 hours on a 72-hour hold. And the reason that's true is because when a woman leaves her batterer, that is the most dangerous time. He is looking for her everywhere. It is a dangerous time for her. And so she doesn't leave our house, doesn't make phone calls, nobody kind of knows. She can never even tell her mother where she is, okay? I mean, even through the whole 30 days, if we found out a family member knew that you were in our shelter, we would move you to a different shelter, okay? That's how safe and secure our space has to be for our clients. But we do find right away other places in other areas of LA, Ventura, Kern County. We all work together to be able to safety transfer our clients.
They have an excellent one in Lancaster.
Yes, it's a very
And-
big one, yeah.
But
very,
let's
very
also-
large one.
Let's make sure also that our listeners understand that domestic violence is not isolated to those who have children, those who are in their 20s or even 30s. There are seniors out there in relationships that have similar problems that are listening to this show that don't know where to turn to.
I want to give you the hotline number too, in case somebody does need to call and ask a question. It's 661-259-4357. So again, it's 661-259-4357. And you can call and talk to an advocate 24 hours a day. And if you're a senior, some of the actually, I just was at the senior center last week giving a talk to about 20 seniors who came to listen. And we basically talked about, for me, I always want to let people know that they have to stand up for what's going on for them, and so we talked a lot about what the legal rights are for people. And I know that what happens with seniors, what senior abuse sometimes looks like, is the caregiver or the family member. That may be somebody who financially may be abusing you by maybe taking checks that you are getting in the mail, or, asking, not giving you your medication the way it should happen. I mean, we have run into clients who, at the hospital, I went to see somebody once because what her abuser did was only give her just enough insulin to keep her going, but not enough to make her feel good. And she had allowed him to become her caregiver. And she would come into the hospital periodically, and they would get her insulin up to where it's supposed to be. But at one point they called and they said, can you come talk to her? Because we really feel that this is an abusive situation for her, that he's really controlling her in this way. And so I went in and I spoke with her. She was not ready to leave him. I mean, he basically had his family kind of circling the hospital the whole time. But that was an interesting one for me to see. She just wasn't ready yet. A lot of times it takes 9 times for somebody to decide to leave their abuser. But people in sort of an elderly situation, that can be just the fear of, if I am to report them, I will be on my own. I could be left here by myself all alone. And that's very, very scary.
What about, Linda, though, those listeners who are seeing the abuse occur, and what can they do? How do they talk to their friend who's being abused, or do they call the hotline to get advice? What do you do at that point when you're seeing it happen, and before they end up in the emergency room and somebody says, yeah, they're holding them, at a bay by withholding their insulin? I mean, how do we keep that from getting so far if we recognize it earlier or somebody does?
Yeah, I mean, I believe what we really need to do, though, is there's something called, like, we can all become bystander, or we all are bystanders, but we can make a choice to be an upstander, which is sort of the terminology that we're using now in domestic violence, where you want to say something, you want to go to them and but not in an accusing way, because remember, they're afraid, and so they feel like there aren't a lot of options for them. So to go in and just say, hey, I'm here for you if you ever feel like you need a break or you need to talk to me about what's going on. I mean, just kind of offer some of that at first. And then I also think, we've got resources like social workers, like calling the senior center maybe and finding out if there's a social worker that could go in and talk with that particular person, and maybe ask for a meeting with the caregiver and that person, just to see maybe what's going on. But to bring in, I think, sometimes a third party that's sort of an unbiased person to kind of look at the situation, I think is helpful, because the caregiver could say to the neighbor, oh, that neighbor never liked me anyway, or whatever. Right. But to bring somebody in, I think, is really a good, and that was a question that I was asked at the senior center. It was kind of an interesting question, because they wanted to know, like, say, when all right, if my daughter decided that I couldn't drive anymore, but she decides, like, who makes the decision that I can't drive anymore, but I end up giving her my car, and she then gives it to her daughter. Do you know what I mean? Did she really stopping me from driving because she wanted my car? You know what I mean? There's like all these trust issues that come up around money.
Oh, yeah.
And then also the issue of, and he was asking if that was abuse, and then he asked about, what about money? They're now controlling my money, but they don't let me spend very much, but because they don't want it to run out, not just that they worry, not just for me, but for their own enjoyment later on when I'm gone.
Absolutely. Well, it's interesting. That is kind of an emotional abuse.
Right.
Not necessarily all physical.
Well, physical is just one form of abuse, and I think when we get to the elderly, you may see some physical, but I think you're going to see a lot of emotional and a lot of financial abuse.
Yes, mostly.
And that's why we have to remember that when we think of domestic violence center, we think of abuse upon women, but also, especially in our seniors.
I think in your senior years, you'll see men as well as women.
Goes back and forth.
Yeah, I do. I do think you'll see, because it really is about and that's not to say to distrust caregivers, but it is to say sometimes I think, I'm getting older too. Getting older is not exactly something, you want to embrace it, but it's a little scary.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
right?
When the red flags start hitting you.
Yeah.
But we're not old. We're just getting older.
Yeah, we're just getting older. We've been around a long time.
Yes, that's right.
That's how you say it. These aren't like age spots. These are from time. Yeah, I got it. So I think that there's a lot of fear, because I think you feel like you're losing control physically. Are you losing control everywhere? Yeah. And that's where I think people take advantage of the elderly around domestic violence, is being able to use that. So I think emotional abuse and financial are the ones that we really need to.
As referring to the elder population.
Yeah. And how do they make a change?
Yes.
So that would be where I would say we wanted to bring in social workers. We want to really look at who is dealing with this issue out there. We don't see a lot of people call us that are, older. I would say we maybe 60, 65 we might see, which I don't consider that to be, they're still physically, working and doing things, and I don't consider them to be that older. But I'm just thinking, if you were convalescent in your home and needed somebody to care for you, or, wanting to be able to maintain your home for fear of what that would mean if you had to leave, I think that can be also something, so.
Well, it's been terrific having you, especially. You're coming in next month.
Yes, for Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
That's right, Domestic Violence Awareness Month. That is the whole month of October.
It is, and we have a lot of things that are going to be happening, and we have a Purple Walk that's happening on October 17th, Saturday. Terrific. That's a fundraiser for us. But we also have quite a few events that are going to be happening that I can share with you.
But we can still go over there, because I think we'll take a break and come back in we'll have about 3 minutes left. Maybe
Yes.
we can do it then. What do you think?
Yeah, that's terrific. Okay, I'll let you sign off this time. How's that? Woohoo!
This is your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. And we've been speaking with Linda Davies, who's the Executive Director of the Domestic Violence Center of SCV.
All right.
Go for it.
Okay. All right. Well, I got a few minutes here to tell you a little bit about October is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And so in October, we try as an agency to get information out to the community more so. And so we're starting off in September, actually, on Saturday, September 26th, with a clothesline project, a T-shirt day, where if you're a survivor or you know somebody who's a survivor of domestic violence, you can come over to Savia at 10 o'clock in the morning, and you can actually make a T-shirt that sort of shows or kind of, in any way you want to express what happened to you or to a family member or to a friend. And the reason it's called a clothesline project is because that's where women started talking about their abuse, was in laundromats and outside when they're hanging up their clothes. Because it was right around the civil rights movement when they're saying, hey, they're talking about how mistreated everybody is, but do you know what my husband does to me? Do you know what? And then they all started chatting about that. And so that was a way they started to express it. The other thing also is we're doing a resource fair with College of the Canyons, and that's going to be on September 30th at 11:30 to 1:30, and we'll also be displaying the Clothesline Project at that event that day, and people will also be making some more T-shirts. Then on October the 13th, we've got Stop the Violence, Stand Up Against, Stop the Silence, Stand Up Against Violence. We're going to be doing a workshop series this year that's going to be family-generated, or to teach families about domestic violence and basically teach them about healthy relationships. And so our first one is going to be on October 13th, and that's going to be on nonviolent parenting. And then we end the month, of course, with, middle of the month, but still sort of the end for us with a lot of things, is the 5K Purple Walk of Strength that we do at the college, at the track and field, on the cross-country track. This is a chance for you to run and to get purpled and to have some fun and learn about domestic violence. And kids are welcome. Families are welcome. We try to do things that are family-friendly because, we sometimes feel as though people get a little nervous about the fact that we're about domestic violence.
And what date is that?
That's October the 17th. That's a Saturday. It's the third Saturday in October.
How do you get purpled?
You get purpled by throwing purple pigment at you. We throw
Pigment?
Well, it's color. Yeah, purple color at you.
Is it powder, or is it?
It's like a cornstarch powder. It's like
it's cornstarch.
Yeah.
Get in your lungs, so I have to wear a mask? Or?
No, you don't. You have to wear goggles. They're not throwing that much. You wear goggles and a white shirt, and then you get yourself purple. That's how it goes.
Okay.
I really enjoy
better than shaving your head.
Yes, better than shaving your head.
That's true. Well, you could always get a purple wig, couldn't you?
Yes, you could. I have a pink
Work
one.
on that.
Purple wig.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right.
Well, once again, Linda, let's give that hotline number again.
Okay.
I think it's important for, especially the seniors who are listening, that they understand it's out there and something needs to be done about it. And the first place that one will think about it is you.
Right.
So
right.
that number once again is
661-259-4357.
always great to have you on the show. You're doing so much in our community, and
thank
hope
you.
you get that sandbox done.
Yeah, and our bathroom. Yeah, we got a lot of little projects happening, but thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to see both of you and
Thanks
to
for
be
being
on the
on our
radio.
We'll
show.
see you
Yeah,
next
thank you.
month.
Yes, you will.
Yes.
Okay.
We are sponsored by the Advanced Audiology and Santa Clarita in Home Care. Listen to us next week on the Senior Hour. Now go and enhance your quality of life.